Congressional Democrats and the president are urging immediate action on the debt ceiling ahead of a critical deadline. I'm Natalie Brand on Capitol Hill. I'll tell you why Republicans say they're blocking it.
Also, Barbie has a new career as an astronaut.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Protesters across the nation faced rain and opposition as they spoke out against the latest restrictive state abortion decisions and an upcoming Supreme Court case challenging Roe v. Wade. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Protesters in Joplin are fighting for continued access and better access to abortion care. Julie Joplin Media organized Saturday's March on Rangeline. The participants voiced concerns over the new Texas law and worked to raise awareness about lack of abortion access in Missouri. Right now, Missouri only has one abortion clinic, and it's 4 hours away in St. Louis. We spoke with the event organizer, Jamie Lindsay, on the importance of marching in Joplin.
It really just kind of boils down to our bodily autonomy and our rights to our own bodies. So we can really have this discussion about abortion, but when we start limiting the things that we can have access to within our own bodies, that's something that we can all agree on that we deserve is bodily autonomy.
Joplin police say at least one fight broke out during the rally. Authorities say a man assaulted a woman and was taken into custody. And Jamie Lindsay, the woman we just heard from there, also tells KOAM she was choked by another woman. Supreme Court justices have a controversial docket in front of them, including cases that challenge a long-standing abortion ruling. Jan Crawford is at the Supreme Court with a look at what's ahead.
Over the weekend, protesters left no doubt what's at stake.
My choice! My choice!
The most significant challenge to Roe v. Wade in a generation. A case asking the justices to uphold Mississippi's ban on abortions after 15 weeks.
This is the only clinic in the state of Mississippi.
Shannon Brewer is director of the clinic in Jackson.
I've been here through a lot of different laws that we fought, but this is the one that I can honestly say worries me more than any of them.
The justices will hear arguments in the case in December, with Justice Amy Coney Barrett replacing liberal icon Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Abortion opponents hope this court could finally overturn Roe, the 1973 case that said abortion was a constitutional right. Some states across the country already are preparing for the ruling, with mostly conservative states ready to outlaw or greatly restrict abortion if the court sides with Mississippi, while some liberal ones are passing laws to guarantee that in their states abortion still would be available. The case comes with the court already in the political spotlight. Polls show public opinion of the court has declined. And there are other contentious cases that surely will divide the justices. In November, the court takes up a major gun rights case challenging a New York law that limits who can carry a concealed weapon for self-defense. It also will decide a religious rights case, whether a tuition assistance program in Maine that bans state money from going to religious schools amounts to discrimination.
Now, this week, the justices will be one member short. Justice Brett Kavanaugh tested positive last week for the coronavirus. He'll be participating remotely from home. The justices are all vaccinated. They're routinely tested, but the court's not taking any chances. The building is still closed to the public. Most members of the media, but you can listen from home on a live stream on the court's website. Jan Crawford, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Well, we've got cooler temps to start off the work week. Let's go to Michael Hayslip at the Skywatch Weather Center for a first look.
Forgive me, I was looking at the Pandora papers.
We were just talking about it.
That's exactly, that is exactly what I was doing right there. All right, Tanya, let's take a live look outside of Television City right now, where a whole bunch of blue skies. Now remember, we started off the morning show with temperatures as low as 46 degrees in the 4 states, and here we are. And not only that, here's the really interesting part of it. The cooler temperatures were out in our western counties, and so it was Neodesha and Parsons that had slipped down to the 40s, and now we've seen a 30-degree bump up. Compare that to Monet and Cassville, that we're still sitting at 60 degrees, and so there we've only seen about 12 to 15 degree difference. But with that being said, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous Monday. Little cloud moved in from the southwest. We did have them in the northern portion, but now that's a thing of the past as it crosses the Mississippi. Speaking of the Mississippi, guess what the old jet stream's going to do is this thing whips down out of Canada right here. It forces everything off to the east. You'll notice You go west of the Mississippi, there is not a whole lot of action to the point where, yeah, dangerously dry. Hate to use that term, but the severe thunderstorm risk map shows you that really if you go from the Mississippi to the mid-Atlantic up to the northeast, or whether it be down to the peninsula of Florida, they're going to get rain today. We are not. As a matter of fact, we're not going to see anything for the next couple of days and have wonderful fall temperatures. We'll be in the high 80s, not a whole lot of difference from now to where we will be later on this afternoon. And then as we work into Tuesday, very dry. And here we go. Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday night. Look at that right-hand portion of your screen. It's going to kick just a little rain our way. It's certainly not widespread. Now, speaking of rain, Tanya, coming up here in just a little bit, we'll not only tackle the amount of precipitation that we had last week, but also, too, how would it make sense that we would show up on the drought monitor? But we are.
I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
Find out next.
All right, sounds good. Good tease. Well, the Senate is set to begin debate this afternoon on an extension of the debt ceiling. The Treasury Department says Congress has to raise the debt ceiling in the next 2 weeks or the U.S. will default on its loans for the first time in American history. Natalie Brand has more details from Capitol Hill.
President Biden says Congress needs to act now to raise the debt ceiling before the October 18th deadline when the country will run out of money to pay its bills. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he wants a bill on the president's desk by the end of the week. Republicans say they will not vote for it as long as Democrats are pushing for passage of a proposed $3.5 trillion spending bill.
If this stuff passes, this massive spending and tax bill, that inflation is going to get much worse.
The Democratic social spending bill, as well as the $1.2 trillion bipartisan physical infrastructure bill, have put progressive Democrats and moderates at odds.
Democratic leaders are pushing back their own deadline to pass both bills until the end of the month as they try to win over moderates Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona and West Virginia's Joe Manchin. Both say the spending bill costs too much money. Manchin has said he will not go over $1.5 trillion.
That's too small to get our priorities in. So it's going to be somewhere, between 1.5 and 3.5.
New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says they may be able to find ways to scale back.
Fully fund what we can fully fund, but maybe instead of doing it for 10 years, you fully fund it for 5 years.
Build back better.
Meanwhile, activists are aggressively protesting Senators Manchin and Sinema.
We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
Even following the Arizona Democrat into a restroom over the weekend. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, Barbie jets off on a zero-gravity flight to inspire young girls to reach for the stars. And later, we're making city chicken, along with a history lesson in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Barbie has a new career as an astronaut. To kick off International Space Week, the doll is reaching new heights to encourage young girls to achieve their dreams. CBS's Tina Kraus has the story.
It's like looking in a mirror for Italian astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti. This Barbie doll is her mini-me and has already completed her first mission. Jetting off on a zero-gravity flight to inspire young girls to choose careers in space.
Maybe that footage, those images will kindle a sparkle of passion in some girl's heart, and that would be incredible.
Mini Samantha is getting the training of a real-life astronaut.
Inside the cabin of the aircraft, you are actually weightless, which means you are floating around in the cabin, just like I will be floating weightless inside the space station.
Next year, Cristoforetti will become Europe's first female astronaut to command the International Space Station, with Barbie by her side.
It's not just a beautiful doll, it's a smart, accomplished doll that makes so much difference. I think it's remarkable.
Samantha's doll isn't the first astronaut Barbie. Mattel debuted its Space Explorer doll in 1965, even before NASA sent astronauts to walk on the moon. Space experts hope thinking outside the box with this doll will encourage girls everywhere to reach for the stars. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Part of the sales from the new astronaut Barbie doll will be donated to women in aerospace to inspire the next generation and create a scholarship for a college student. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If it looks like chicken and cooks up like chicken, it must be chicken, right? Don't be so sure of that.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Didn't take long for the amazing warm up that we've had today in some places. How about a 25, almost 28 degree bump up from where we started the KOAM morning news. There's a live look outside of 7th and Rangeline, a comfortable 76 degrees. We've seen the wind kind of pick up just a little bit. My goodness, it was so still this morning. It was almost eerie, but now we sit at 10 miles per hour and that humidity dropping all the way down to 45%. Tanya and I were talking earlier about how we saw the cooler temperatures out on the western edge of southeast Kansas, and now those are the ones that are quickly approaching 80 degrees. Southwest Missouri, that's a good, 20 degree bounce up from where we were. It's 76 in Carthage and Lamar, 72 in Miami, and let's roll 75 right now in Pittsburgh. As far as where we were yesterday, when we did the 24-hour temperature change pre-sunrise, it was actually a whole bunch of negative numbers, as much as a negative 15. And now we're approaching a plus 10 in certain places. So just kind of night and day here after the sun took effect. And the big difference is we don't have the clouds that stuck around yesterday. We are just clear as can be. We had a little bit move in there from the southwest. And if we go back here and take a look at a 6 to 12 hour loop, you see those down up to the north? Yeah, it just kind of sank down on us. But the nice thing is with that high pressure that the entire Midwest has, there's no precipitation in that. And here's why. See how we stay on the east side of the jet stream right here? Takes that big loop. It's just pretty much an L shape is what it is. And we don't see a hard push up to the north right there. And that's why underneath that trough, which is where we consider the bottom of the loop, we don't see a whole lot of thunderstorm activity. But what it does, it takes all that Gulf moisture and keeps it from heading our way, at least for a couple of days. Severe thunderstorm risk map just pushes everything from Florida, mid-Atlantic, off to the northeastern portion of the United States. Let's wrap up a little Atlantic Basin action while we're at it. Right now, we got a Category 2 that's holding on to Sam, and really, it's just about parallel with Maine. That'll be a thing of the distant past, and also a distant past is going to be Victor, because he is now post-tropical. Don't have any concerns as far as what he has left. One thing that Tanya and I were talking about earlier, because I had it made and I'm gonna have to throw it up here in a second, is when we get to our afternoon planner, we were talking about, hey, wait a second, how do we even turn up in the drought monitor? Like, why would that even be a concern? Well, here's the thing, because we haven't spaced our rain out. When we do get it, it comes in batches and batches. As a matter of fact, we saw as much as 3.5 to 4.5 inches of rain in the southern portion of southwest Missouri just last week alone. But look at this. We see the severe part starting to creep up through northeast Oklahoma and then into the southern part of southeast Kansas. We've got dry conditions pretty much all through southwest Missouri. And so if we can just get a little bit of rainfall every now and then, it would be a boon. Well, it's not going to happen on Monday and Tuesday, but we do have a chance of it showing up on Wednesday. So what we'll do is, after great fall temperatures here for the next 2 days, watch this thing move in from central Missouri. It turns counterclockwise, almost wants to throw the rain in our direction. So it's not very well widespread, and it's certainly nothing severe, but we'll take about anything that we can get at this point in time. Still down about 1.5 inches from where we'd historically be. And then by the time we get into Thursday morning, we've cleared off. Well, here's the problem with that. When we clear off, we got a good heat wave coming our way. Tanya, we're going to go right back into a taste of summer for Friday through Sunday. And we're going to be talking about high 80s, low 90s.
I'm done tasting summer. I'm ready back for fall. We had that taste of fall, big teaser. I want it full time. The
crazy thing is as I was going through this morning, look at that overnight low in between Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, we dropped as low as 45 degrees this morning.
Yeah, it was
that
chilly.
Overnight low is 69.
It's going to be a difference. Probably
we're talking almost 25-degree difference right there.
Right. Okay, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Private First Class Gary LeMaster in the U.S. Army. The Granby, Missouri native joined the 388th Engineers in 1954, was stationed in Korea until 1956. LeMaster earned the National Service Medal, To Private First Class Gary Lemaster, we thank you, our four-state hero. No chicken? No problem. The name of today's recipe, City Chicken, may be misleading because it's actually made with pork. Howard explains and shows us how to make his city chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I love when you get a chance to share a little bit of history behind a recipe. Like today's recipe, which came about during the Great Depression. Back then, unless you lived in a rural area, chickens were hard to come by. So folks ate a lot of pork and veal instead. Someone had the bright idea of skewering and breading cubes of meat so they would resemble chicken drumsticks. They called it city chicken, and everyone loved it. And it's done like this. First, we cut up some pork and veal into chunks and thread them onto bamboo skewers. Or if you want, you can use all of one or the other. Then we season them with salt and pepper. We dip them in some flour that we mix with a bit of poultry seasoning before coating them with a beaten egg. Finally, we roll them in some Italian breadcrumbs. Now we fry them until the coating is crispy, and we finish them off in the oven until the meat is cooked to perfection. You know, they really do look like chicken drumsticks. And when chicken became plentiful again, these juicy meaty kebabs remain just as popular as always. To get the recipe for city chicken, even though it's not really chicken, check out our website, or you can find it in our latest cookbook, the Ultimate Recipes Across America Cookbook. I'm Howard of the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a historically tasty way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our four-state market prices.
For the end of the news, Neodesha up there at 79, everybody else pretty much mid-70s. A delightful October Monday with temperatures around 80 degrees, a little north breeze, and overnight, yeah, we're going to drop back down into the 50s. I don't think we'll see as many widespread 40s tomorrow morning as what we had this morning, and hopefully that helps out with the fog and the less humidity as well. Going to stay dry and mild, scattered showers on Wednesday, and then get ready for the weekend heat wave with 80s and 90s on the horizon.
All right, well, coming up tonight at 5, Hispanic-owned businesses were hit hard by the pandemic, and many were not able to secure government help like PPP loans. Now a new program is giving hundreds of these businesses, including restaurants and bodegas, a much-needed financial boost. Plus, a local pharmacist reacts to Pfizer announcing a new COVID-19 vaccine to combat changing variants and how that compares to changing flu vaccines. And we meet a group of volunteers spending time at Milo Baptist Church. Join us for those stories, much more tonight on KOAM News at 5.
I want to thank you all for joining us here on the KOAM News at noon. Tanya and I will see you again tomorrow morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right back here at 5 o'clock.